Reuniting with God, enlightenment or awakening, is actually a very personal relationship with God. It is your own connection with the divine light that is actually within you. God is not out there. God is within here. And the moment we realize that, the moment that we acknowledge that actually God is within us, we will start to see that whatever we do to others, we do to God. Hello everyone, this is Father Joe from the Catholic Universalist Church of Asia Pacific. Today I am going to discuss with you this great shift of consciousness that is happening all throughout the world. If you could observe, most people are now getting away or getting out from their traditional organized religions, and they become more spiritual. They go back to nature, then they try to connect spiritually with nature. I wouldn't say that this shift of consciousness is bad. Let me explain that. People now are starting to realize that religion should be a movement of unification and not division. The word religion came from the Latin word religare, which means union or to be united with. And also, Eastern traditions, the word yoga also means unification. It came from the root word yug, which means unification, which is the divine. Today, people are starting to realize that there has been some inconsistencies with organized religion. Just let's say, for example, for Christianity, most churches nowadays became an institution, a business institution, a money-making organization, instead of being a vocational, free-of-charge service. And religions nowadays became a fear-based belief system, or it became a fear-based business. Why? One pastor or priest would say, hey, you will go to hell, which is eternal punishment. And that's the main thing that drives modern day religions. Fear of hell, fear of being in that bottomless pit, fear of being in that eternal suffering. So right now, people are starting to be awakened. People are starting to realize that truth is actually not that complicated. God created man according to his image and likeness, and man has this divine potential within them. The spark of God is actually within man because God created man according to his image and likeness. Therefore, we all came from God. We all possess this divine spark of God, and we don't need any church or any religion for us to connect with God within us. And that's the shift of consciousness that is happening right now. Fear of eternal hell is actually an illusion, a strategy for people to be controlled by a specific religion, by a specific institution. Because if you instill fear to the minds and hearts of the people, you can control them. So that's the shift of consciousness that is happening right now. People are starting to awaken the divine essence that is within them. And this is not just happening in America, it's happening in India, it's happening in the Philippines, everywhere, all over the globe. And people are starting to go back. There is a specific path that everyone should follow. However, that path is unique to everyone. You don't need a religion to be reunited with God or with the divine. That's why I wouldn't say that it's a bad thing. However, I wouldn't say that it's also good. Why? Because whether we like it or not, religion is necessary, not for you to be taught what is good and what is bad. Religion is needed because we as human beings, we have this need for belongingness. We have this sense of belongingness. We need to belong into a group or an organization of like-minded people. Although the path towards unification with God, or the path towards awakening, or the path towards enlightenment is something personal, we still need to have an organization, a support group wherein you are being encouraged by your co-members or let's say colleagues to pursue the path that you're into right now. And you just talk about your experience. You don't debate. The purpose of having this organization is for us to have this support system, and not an institution of fear, but an organization or an institution that is based on love. And that is the teachings of Master Jesus. That is the teachings of almost every prophet. That is the teachings of almost all the founders of all the religions all over the world. I am telling you all of this because religion should evolve. Religion should shift. Religion should transform from being a fear-based money-making business into a love-based, free of charge, vocational service. Religion should not be motivated by fear, but religion should be motivated by love. Religion should not be teaching people what to believe in. Religion should teach people how to think, how to reunite again with the divine. Truth is, ladies and gentlemen, you don't need priests like me to be reunited with God. That is true, because we ourselves is actually our very own priests. Our body is a temple and our hearts is the altar of sacrifice. Everything we say, everything we do, it actually comes from our heart. So we sanctify our own temples, our own bodies, based on what we say or what we do to others. It is not something like, okay, I need to be closer to God, so I need to go to a priest and confess my sins. Or I need to go to a priest, and if I become close to this priest, I become closer to God as well. No, reuniting with God, enlightenment or awakening is actually a very personal relationship with God. It is your own connection with the divine light that is actually within you. God is not out there. God is within here. And the moment we realize that, the moment that we acknowledge that actually God is within us, we will start to see that whatever we do to others, we do to God. That's what the Bible says. That's what almost every prophet says in different religions. The moment you love God, you'll also start loving your fellow man. And if you love your fellow man, you are actually loving yourself, because God is actually our highest self, our highest sense of consciousness, the divine light that is within us. It is the conscience that we talk most of the time like, okay, I almost punched him in the face, but something in me tells me, no, don't do that. It's wrong. You might just forgive him. That is actually conscience, and that is the divine spark of God that is within us. I will not encourage people to leave their churches. However, if their churches is abusive, if their churches only cares about making money, if their churches is just teaching or preaching hell, well, you might want to leave your church. Why? Because the fear of hell is more torturing than hell itself. If your church teaches love, if your church teaches compassion, if your church teaches acceptance, then you might as well continue with your church, because again, we need to address this spiritual need within us. Man is a spiritual being. According to an ancient Hindu proverb, we are not human beings having a spiritual experience, rather We are spiritual beings having a temporary human experience. So basically, God is actually spirit. Or if we try to convert that into a more scientific approach, God is actually the energy consciousness that is, within the entire universe. That is, the whole universe is created with this divine energy, this energy consciousness. Now, according to Albert Einstein, everything in the universe is energy. We are made up of energy. Our vibration is just different. That's why energy crystallized and formed into matter. We are all made up of atoms, and atoms, if you split the atom, you get electrons, protons, neutrons, and if you split that into smaller particles, what we see is quanta, or let's say strings of light, which is energy that is vibrating. Reincarnation might also be true. In the earliest Christian theologians, especially Saint Origen, he made mention that there is a transmigration of the soul, or there is what we call a reincarnation. Reincarnation is actually, or was actually taught by the early Christian church. One lifetime, according to Saint Origen, is not enough to experience the love of God. Maybe it's because of their karma. Maybe because they need to learn something. They need to learn something profound, something spiritual, that they need to be reincarnated in this time and space so that they would, start to realize and start to understand what things they could have done better in their past lives. So, they need to take that lesson in this lifetime, and that's why they are born in a different body. Alright, so there's a lot of possibilities. If we open our minds and we open our hearts to the essence of true spirituality, we will become more loving. We will become more compassionate. We will become more accepting. Why? It is because our true nature, the divine spark of God within us, is actually pure and undefiled love. That is why sometimes if you're inside your church, you would say that the teachings of this pastor seems off. Yes, he talks well, he talks good. He even tried to justify what he says in the Bible. However, it feels so wrong within me. I felt that what he said is something off. What he said is something I couldn't accept because it violates this spark, this divine spark of love within me. Maybe you felt that before, and your intuition is correct. God is within us. Reuniting with God, enlightenment, awakening, going to heaven, whatever you want to call that, is a personal experience. It is within our hearts. God is within here, and we need to connect to God that is within our hearts. Again, God is not up there. God is within us and everywhere around us. Alright? See? That's nature. That's why people are going back to nature, because they could connect to God with nature. The beating of your heart, the turning of the electrons inside the atom, the sound of the river, the chirping of the birds, the sound of the wind that you hear as the wind touches the leaves. Everything, the synchronicity, that is God. And this is not an accident that you're watching this video, because yes, this message is for you. God bless everyone. Namaste.